Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Pelton, and I'm here at the Washington State Department of Transportation. And I was asked to give a brief update on our talent pipelines relative to workforce recruiting and some analysis. Hopefully, this information will give some insight into what we've experienced as an agency and what we are focused on in the near term relative to our talent and workforce. Here are just a few of the items that I intend to cover for this presentation. And I want to start off by saying that based on my analysis of workforce, supply and demand, you're likely all in a same or similar situation where supply and demand problem is our issue relative to the talent outside of both agencies and in the workplace. So I will cover some of our workforce turnover data driving our recruitment and demand and talk about what we are forecasting for the next several months. All right, so everyone's probably aware of the generational construct, and while this speaks to the overall population, there's no doubt a workforce impact. So to frame our talent deficit, I think it's important to take a quick look at what might be causing this issue. And the first thing you can see here is that boomers are rapidly reaching retirement age. You can see by 2028, there's just this very quick decline. So it's clear that millennials will be the major replacement of these departures, with Gen X kind of being the middle section here that's trying their best, their level best based on the number that are available in the market to replace the boomers. But it's clear that the millennials are going to hit the mark. So what does that highlight? That highlights the very problem that there's not enough Gen Xers to replace the boomers who are rapidly departing. Um, the boomers peaked at about 72 million and the Gen X only equal about 65. So talking really big numbers, you can see that there's just not enough. And the only option there is to replace with millennials who are barely coming of age for more of the mid-level and senior level positions that they're so there's going to need time for training and increasing capabilities in certain areas, especially in the highly technical positions. This is a really busy slide, but I really like this one. I believe the source is on Wikipedia, so if you just Google um, the different generations, this will likely pop up. But what this indicates is kind of the similar thing, but on a different scale. Again, there's not enough Gen Xers, and you can see that the baby boomers, which is highlighted here in this section, this is about 2021. And when you look at the last cohort turning 60, we're likely in that window right now. So uh, your the average retirement age of an individual is right around 64, 62 to 64. And so those boomers who are in volume are rapidly exiting the workplace. And you've got the Gen X folks that are just on the heels, and that first cohort of individuals is on a similar path. And you can see our future state is with the millennials and the Gen Ys. So I think this graph just really illustrates the big problem that we're facing. And so I like to share that with folks just to frame some context. So what does that mean for DOT? Um, Here you can see our fiscal year retirement and other loss, and we are currently projected to be below our previous retirement and other loss from FY23. Now this is due in large part to the heavy loss that we saw in FY22. So no doubt, the mandate and just COVID in general had an impact on whether or not people decided to stay or go. People reevaluated their retirement capabilities during that period of time, and many took that on. And so I think we'll see fewer number of folks retiring or loss traditionally in FY23 as a result. But we're still in recovery mode from the impacts of FY22. All right. With resignation, it's a similar story. We are currently projected to be below our previous resignation rates, but when you combine our resignation with the retirement and other loss, it's a rather big number. So again, we're still planning on probably that 4% number for FY23, and in recovery mode from several of our resignations. Now, again, this is a really busy slide. If you can't tell, I like data, and I will tell you that FY22 really freaked me out from the standpoint of this chart here. With all of our departures, this reflects our appointments over time from FY17 to 23. And you can see we nearly doubled our appointments from FY21 to 22. What was scary to me was we had equal number of promotions to new hires in FY22. And that was a really scary moment because a lot of what I've observed in my nearly 20 years here at DOT is we do a lot of training from within to get people ready for positions. And so what that requires is a lot of internal promotions and movement. Um, what we saw in FY22 is um, new hires almost outpacing promotions. So what that meant was we were having to go to market in an environment where we were not very competitive for salary, and people don't have a known experience with our agency. So that was kind of a scary moment. The good news is that's starting to slow down, and we are starting to see promotions once again outpace that internal or the external movement. What this told us is that training and mentorships are going to be incredibly important with all these folks in new appointments. So we're really focused on where we can improve in this space. And with many of our replacements, people are far less experienced in those departing. So if you can imagine your average boomer that's been with us for 2 or 3 decades is now being replaced by maybe somebody external to the market that may not have the same skill and ability or adaptation that they've had within state government trying to provide service to the agency. So a lot of orientation of individuals to the new work and being really supportive in the training and mentorship realms. Um, this is just our overall average headcount through the fiscal year, and you can see that there's been a gradual descend from our peak in FY19 and a quick ascend from the bottom in FY22. We know that our needs for additional talent will continue beyond current levels based on the various funding packages relative to transportation. And this is being experienced across the entire US. So, with the federal funding package, there's an increased demand for transportation, civil engineering type workers, and the market is not keeping pace with that. So, when you couple the fact that we have a generational issue, and then we have a higher demand and need in an environment where we don't have skill. Um, it's placing really heavy burden on our recruitment training efforts, and we're doing what we can in that space. So our recruitment efforts continue to assist in filling our deficit, but our 3-year decline has really impacted our sustained ability to deliver for a variety of reasons, which include, just the pandemic environment and so on. Um, I don't think this is abnormal for any organization. When I look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, it indicates there's not enough talent in the market to fill much of the employer needs, especially over the last couple of years. We project by spring we should be, nearing, and we're kind of in that moment right now. Uh, so we'll know probably here in the next 2 months whether or not we're going to meet our objectives for some of our workforce needs based on the market. So our greatest recovery by far is in the realm of engineering. ProTech 17 is our civil engineering technicians and professionals. And within this group, it's a similar story. We have a really rapid descend into 2021 and then a quick ascend. We are still seeking to fill 60 entry-level engineering positions and about 80 interns. And we've scheduled over 20 career outreach events through March and now into April. At this rate, we should see a sustained increase for the next several months, and what we're seeing in demand for NeoGov. But it's really tough market. We're sending out recruitments to fill maybe these 80 interns and finding, you know, 50 or 60 of them. So we're not filling the demand based on the need, which is real problematic given our requirements for delivery. Next up is just kind of a peer into what we're seeing in NeoGov. You know, we've got about 100 open positions, you know, looking for those 60 TE2s, and we're processing approximately 170 total appointments a month. And so we're just trying to keep pace with our departures, and you can see that we are doing that. But this is really tough work for both our hiring managers who are also focused on delivering engineering and maintenance programs and ferry delivery, as well as our HR staff. So we're just working on this backlog and doing what we can to affect it when and where we can. Now, we've moved from our more traditional outreach to more nationwide approach. The dark green elements are places where we visited recruiting events, both virtually and in person. And this has been a big part of how we intend to approach this talent battle across the country, which we think will have, you know, it will also increase our DEI efforts with, you know, our demographics within the agency if we seek places that have more diverse populations to come work for us. We've had a pretty heavy media outreach. 54% of our traffic is a direct result of the King 5 initiative. We had a partnership with King and Kong where we did a commercials during the NFL games with the Seahawks, and we've had millions of impressions and a pretty heavy social media campaign to try to bring traffic our direction, which is we intend to do this coming year as well. So look out for that. Additionally, we've had a program called the High School to Highways program. Now, this is where we're trying to utilize our own training resources to either repurpose or bring staff into the organization. Um, so in this High School to Highways program, we know we have an aging workforce with a high demand for CDL qualified individuals. So we partnered with OSPI and other local high schools who have an emphasis on trades to develop a program that would allow a student straight out of high school to achieve a job as a highway maintenance worker making about 50 or 60K annually. So we utilize our own resources, our own training to create CDLs, and we also use pretty heavily mentorship program that allows people to orient themselves into the organization, especially the folks coming straight out of high school who are rather young, and this is likely their first job. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that, you know, our focus as a group is really on these areas of workforce recruitment and retention. We know that we're getting closer every day to reaching our staffing levels, but that's going to be a real challenge for us moving forward. We're encouraging our leaders and our decisions to guide us down a candidate first mindset. So we're looking at centralizing hiring pools of, like, let's say the TE2. Instead of posting 60 different recruitments, we're doing one and allowing that to guide some efficiency with regard to the candidate. So they only have to apply to one place, and centralizing the interview processes. So we're pushing 60 people through the same panel, which we think we're finding some efficiency and speed and marketing and that candidate first mindset. Lastly, we're really focused on high engagement with our entry level positions. This is where we will be measuring our success rate from the standpoint of how long we can keep those new employees. We're spending a lot of time and effort in outreach, and we're looking for diverse folks. And we know that our culture may or may not be prepared for that. We've done the best we can, but we'll be watching that really closely to make sure that the folks that we find are engaged, they're happy, and ready to work. So that concludes my portion. I look forward to collaborating with you folks further, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.